My name is Stephanie Bauer. I'm in Thurston County, Washington, looking into a missing persons case that sent shockwaves through a small town community over a decade ago. On March 6, 2009, 36-year-old Nancy Moyer vanished suddenly from her home in Tenino. According to police, there have been a number of persons of interest in the last 10 years, but no one convicted of any crime. With the case still wide open, new leads and tips are still required. If you have any information at all related to Nancy's case, we want you to get in touch.
My mom was everything. Her smile, she kind of just lit up the whole room when she walked in.
Nancy was a very loving, caring mother, very loyal to her friends and family. Nancy was always a good person.
The last 10 years have been really hard for me. Going to dances without taking pictures with my mom or turning 18 without her. I didn't like my life a lot. It's hard. I should have my mom, but I don't, and it sucks.
I'm in Tenino meeting James Basinger, who for the last year has been investigating Nancy's disappearance for his podcast, Hide and Seek.
I came across Nancy Moyer's case. It was a 10-year-old cold case. She was a young mother, and I'm a father. And that really struck a chord with me and got at my heart. We're applying pressure by putting this content out there. I was hoping that if we shake the tree hard enough, something will fall, and it did.
Well, thanks for driving.
Yeah.
You know this area much better than I do. And so you've been here about 8 times?
Yeah, about
since March?
Yeah. It's interesting to kind of get the pulse on what everybody thinks happened. How does a girl just disappear from her, front doorstep or on her porch? It just doesn't happen in a small town like this. When Nancy went missing March 6, 2009, it was a regular Friday. Nothing out of the ordinary was happening. She went to work in the Department of Ecology. She would carpool with a guy. They go to work, they go home that day. When Nancy drops him off, she heads to the local grocery store. Quick point out, that's the market that Nancy went to the night that she went missing.
So this is the last public place she was seen.
Right.
At what time?
She checked out from that market around 6:45, based on the receipt that was at her house. That's where she purchased the 2 wine bottles and then 3 packs of cigarettes and I think a Hungry Man dinner. There was an officer that was sitting next to Nancy's house and was running radar, and it was a spot that officers would normally sit at. He sees her getting the grocery bags out of the trunk and going inside the house, and she's by herself. That was the last time Nancy was ever seen. So this is Nancy's house on the right. At around 11 o'clock, the neighbor says he overheard a female say, "Hurry up, get in the car," and hearing 2 car doors shut, and then the vehicle taking off.
So Nancy moved into this house after she split from Bill, and she didn't have the kids on the weekends, right?
Right.
And so she was ready to spend that evening alone, no plans, she just wanted to relax. So I understand the door was open, and were cigarettes outside and wine inside. What else?
All the lights were on. TV was on. It appeared somebody was home. Her car was in the driveway still. Nothing looked out of place and nothing was knocked over. The house didn't look like there was a scuffle between 2 individuals. It looked normal.
When my mom went missing, I didn't know that even happened. I didn't know that people could just up and vanish. So I just thought, oh, she's gonna come back, and it was just really confusing.
It was extremely difficult, actually. You know, not only was the girl's mom missing, we suddenly had to adjust to, okay, how do I just handle day to day?
To get a better understanding of the case, I'm visiting Nancy's former husband, Bill, who she was separated from at the time of her disappearance.
Bill,
Hi,
Stephanie.
pleasure to meet you.
Nice
Hi,
to meet
Stephanie.
you. Thank you for having me in.
Yes, welcome. Come on in.
Thank you.
I had the girls from Thursday night, so Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and then on Sunday, Nancy would come pick them up.
So on Sunday, March 8th, you went over to drop the girls, and what did you find at Nancy's house?
We expected her to be home, and the door was cracked a little bit, which was odd. I mean, it was wintertime, and it was cold. So we went in, and the girls looked around, and there was nobody there. So we stayed at the house for a little while, and finally I took the girls back over to my place because nobody showed up. I kept thinking she would call me at that point, and no call ever came. So eventually I did go back to the house again, and there was still nobody there. The things that she would have typically taken with her were still in the house, like car keys and wallet, and she was smoking at that point in time. There were cigarettes there.
So what were you thinking happened to her?
Actually, I'll be honest, I was kind of scared that something bad could have happened because it was so far out of character.
So here is a missing woman, and you are her husband, whom she's separated from.
Yep,
All eyes are on you.
correct.
Did the police suspect you at all?
They questioned me early on, and I volunteered. I said, well, I'll take a polygraph. And they quickly cleared me, and in fact, they even went on TV and said, hey, the husband was willing to take the polygraph, and he's not a suspect.
Were the two of you planning on getting back together, or were you moving forward with a complete divorce?
We were not planning on getting back together.
And she was dating other men.
Yeah.
Do you think anything in her personal life could have had anything to do with what happened to her?
She didn't share much at all with me in
Yeah.
that side, and that kind of makes sense.
Nancy worked as my accountant for the Department of Ecology. She had a great sense of humor, wonderful mother, and she was a hard worker. She gave her all to be the best that she could be for those around her and to make their lives better.
To learn more about Nancy's personal life after her split from Bill, I'm meeting her friend and work colleague, Bev.
Hi, Bev.
Hi.
Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie. I'm Bev.
Nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
Thank you for talking with me today.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. All right, so we're at the park where you would always meet for the searches.
The Tenino State Park, yes. I searched for Nancy for almost 2 years, almost every weekend. When we first started our searching, it was wintertime, and it was March, it was cold. We had days where it was icy, snowy, lots of trees, lots of ditches. It was physically exhausting to do these searches.
There are so many places to hide a body, and it's been 10 years, so
Yeah.
it's discouraging.
It's discouraging, but at least I know that we gave it our all.
What was going on in Nancy's personal life when she disappeared?
She was supposed to be meeting someone that evening,
Who?
Jim Roth.
Okay.
He was someone who had a fascination with her. He worked at the office, and so they were supposed to meet at a place for a drink or whatever, I don't know. He had claimed that she never showed up, but he also claimed that he went to her house the next day, Saturday, and the door was ajar, and he walked inside. He thought maybe she had gone for a walk, walked through, didn't see anything, so he left. And I don't know about anybody else, but I wouldn't dream of entering somebody's home if they weren't there.
I think it's interesting that Jim Roth put himself in the house.
I know that he didn't get arrested. He left the agency not too long afterwards, and he has since passed away. And there was never going to be any kind of resolve if it had been him.
Jim Roth was interviewed by police, but never named as a suspect. After hearing about Jim, I wonder if James thinks anyone else could be involved in Nancy's disappearance.
Bernard Howell came on my radar because Nancy went missing March 6, 2009. Vonda Boone's murdered by Bernard Howell in 2010. In a population of 1,700, does lightning strike twice? And so I immediately started to look into Bernard Howell and his story and what he did to Vonda Boone. And one thing you'll find out right away is that the way he murdered Vonda, that wasn't gonna be a one kill and done. That was somebody who was gonna have a taste for it and like it. And this was a serial killer type of murder. And Bernard lives within a minute of Nancy's house.
Really?
Yeah. The day he killed Vonda Boone, Bernard was upset and he went to the walking trail. She walked past him and then he followed her from behind. With the back of the knife, he clubs her over the head and she doesn't get knocked out. And so they kind of scuffle for a second. He took the knife he had in his hand and he slit her throat. Then he carried her down into the brush and he actually had sex with her body.
According to police reports, Bernard sold meat to Nancy.
The thing that really kind of put Bernard with Nancy was that Bernard used to sell meat for a privately owned meat company. And apparently Bernard went to Nancy's house to sell her meat.
I do remember her buying like lemon pepper chicken, and I remember she also bought seafood. She got like either shrimp or prawns off of Bernard Howell. I kind of do wonder if he came back because they found steaks in her freezer and I don't remember her ever buying steaks.
Nancy was kind of almost vegetarian. And so all of a sudden I look and she's got shelves worth of meat in there. I was like, what is this for? Didn't really fit, didn't make sense because it's not something she would have typically purchased.
Bernard Howell has never been directly linked to Nancy's disappearance, and he has never been arrested or charged in relation to Nancy's case.
After he was convicted for Vonda Boone, they asked him, do you know who Nancy Moyer was? And he denied it. Didn't know what you're talking about. Never sold meat in Tenino. Yet there were multiple residents and locals who said, hey, he tried selling me meat.
Then, according to court documents, on July 9th, 2019, at approximately 3 p.m., Eric Lee Roberts called 911 to confess to the killing of Nancy Moyer.
You know, after so many years, the idea of someone coming forward, it was shocking to me. It was very shocking.
On record, Eric said that Nancy had tried to attack him. He doesn't know why, but that she attacked him and that she was buried in the hills somewhere. But then he tells the detective, hey, can you turn off the recorder? And he says, well, what really happened was I picked her up from her house and then I came back to my house. We were having sex and I choked her with the scarf. She hadn't moved for a while. And then that's when he realizes that she did indeed die. And he got rid of the body there in his fire pit.
According to court documents, Eric recanted his confession on the morning of July 10th, 2019, telling police he did not know why he said he killed Nancy Moyer.
Back then, Eric also had a job at the Department of Ecology, and in my interview with him, Eric said he's never hung out with Nancy Moyer or had any kind of personal relationship, nothing.
In James's interview with Eric, he says he doesn't remember confessing. He says, I was on medication. I'm not sure whether that had anything to do with me not remembering. With so many questions unanswered and with no arrests having been made, fresh leads are still required.
The one thing I would say to people who have information, even when you think that the information that you have is irrelevant or it's not going to lead anywhere, that could be the missing piece. It only takes one person for Eric and Nancy to be connected. Same thing for Bernard Howell.
If someone else has other information that suggests that there's somebody else involved, tell us that. The more information we have, the better.
I could move on with my life if I knew what happened and the case was closed and we weren't searching for answers anymore. If you know anything, if you've seen anything, tell authorities.
Do you know anything about Nancy's movements on March 6th, 2009 or after? Do you have any new clues or theories pertaining to Nancy's case? We want you to get in touch. You can continue to follow the story at oxygen.com, and we'll continue to release new information as we're able and as new leads come to light.